What if every single track in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe had a wonder effect? Yep, you heard that right. We are going through all 96 tracks in the entire game and pretty much giving every single track a wonder flower, where it's going to change some aspect of the track or some type of transformation or add some new or goofy property to the race. And I cannot wait to dive into some of these ideas. For each track, I gave at least one wonder event, but some of them have a lot more than one. And as far as the rules as to what the wonder event can do, it pretty much can do anything. It can change the last lap of the track, it can add some crazy new thing to the track, it can transform the characters themselves that are racing. There's a lot that could happen. Now, of course, some of these won't be very realistic, as it might be incredibly hard or just straight up impossible to add some of these things, but of course, that's the point of this video. Real quick, before we dive into this giant list of tracks, make sure you leave a like and subscribe. This video took a while to make, so let's see how many people we can get to subscribe from this one video. Let's try to get 200 unique subscribers. Let's set the goal. Let's see if we can do it, guys. But without further ado, let's dive into the 96 tracks of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and what each track's wonder effect could look like. Starting off with the Mushroom Cup, we have Mario Kart Stadium. Some things I think that would be pretty cool is maybe more TV crew pulls up in like these giant trucks and there's cameras all over the track, or even more helicopters flying in the air. And maybe at the very end when you're gliding, there's tons of helicopters now taking pictures and flashing lights, and you can't really see sometimes and it's hard to kind of see where to go and you have to dodge the helicopters. For Water Park, I thought maybe all the water drains and the rides maybe move a lot faster. That one's a little difficult to see, but there's a lot of spinning rides and roller coaster parts, so maybe they all move really quick. For Sweet Sweet Canyon, I said icing covers lots of the track that will slow you down if you get into the thick icing. You have to dodge all of it, and there's like little paths weaved in between the icing. And for Thwomp Ruins, when you get the Wonder Flower, tons of Thwomps appear on the track, including some bigger ones as well that you'll have to dodge. I also thought it would be cool if the track started to break apart from all the Thwomps hitting the ground, including the bigger one as well. Next up, we have the Shell Cup, where we have Moo Moo Meadows. The cows are everywhere. Yeah, I'm talking cows spread out all over the track up here, and they're walking around the track and crossing the road, and you have to dodge all of them. For Mario Circuit, the big turn is even higher and completely sideways at a 90-degree angle that you have to travel all the way up and back down, and on the way down you can feel the speed as you're about to hit the ramp. For Cheep Cheep Beach, I thought more Cheep Cheeps fill the area. There's more of them bumping into you and jumping out of the water. You have to dodge them all. And for Toad's Turnpike, yep, it's rush hour traffic, and that means higher speeds of all the cars and a lot more vehicles on the road to dodge. It's kind of chaos. Or all the vehicles can be stuck in traffic, literally, where there's just tons of pile-ups and lines of cars where they're just kind of sitting there, and you have to just kind of drive around them like you're beating the traffic and just trying to get away from the cars that are stuck. Next, we move on to the Flower Cup, where we have Mario Circuit. Piranha Plants and Goombas start dancing, and more come to join as they dance around the track and even in your way. For Toad Harbor, the final ramp at the end is one giant speed boost, or maybe there is no road anymore and you actually have to fly. It's an entire glider section as the road is under repair or the ramp is under repair or something along those lines. For Twisted Mansion, it gets even more twisted and coiled, with the roads coiling and corkscrewing in weird ways thanks to the zero gravity mechanic in Mario Kart 8. And maybe your screen gets a little bit more twisted and blurry, making it hard to see where you're going. For Shy Guy Falls, maybe something like Lakitu is dropping items or objects down the falls or even up the falls as you're traveling up and then back down the other side. For instance, there will be usable items like mushrooms or stars coming at you from the waterfall as you're traveling up. And something else I considered, maybe the waterfall dried up and there was just a whole bunch of bumpy terrain and road that you had to drive up and then drive back down. Maybe even more waterfalls open up, so towards the glider section, everything's covered in waterfalls. Even that little shortcut at the top that you have to blast through 2 different waterfalls to get out of the cave, and maybe some waterfalls will push you down in certain ways. Next up, we have the Banana Cup with Dry Desert. The map floods and is entirely underwater. I could see a giant eel also coming out of that center hole of the map. Or maybe that center hole has a giant Pokey-like tower power Pokey from Paper Mario Sticker Star that's just one giant King Pokey that's chucking segments of his body at you and landing them on the track. That'd be pretty cool as well. And since this is one of the few deserts of the game, I might as well keep going. They could drop little tornadoes on the track as well, or like little gusts of wind or dirt devils that sweep you up and try to knock you off the track. Or you could have the angry sun coming all the way back from Desert Hills from Mario Kart DS. Or maybe he chases random players, or he just crosses the track in random spots and leaves fire trails behind him. Donut Plains is a relatively simple track, so I said maybe more Monty Moles cover the entire track where there's just tons of bumps everywhere you go and they're popping their heads out and you have to watch out for them. Royal Raceway, all the trees are cherry blossoms, every single one, and it absolutely covers the screen and tons of leaves where it's hard to see, where some of them will stick to the camera. I also thought maybe the hot air balloons above you could drop items onto the track for you to pick up and use. And DK Jungle could get the entire Tiki gang after you, including their airships that will fire at you on the track and just tons of Tiki creatures coming out of the wood section. Next we move on to the Star Cup, where we have Sunshine Airport. Now the planes are all moving and getting ready to take off, and maybe some of them are not even there anymore, but I would like to see the planes kind of like moving back and forth, or something like Coconut Mall with the cars at the end, and then at the end there's tons of planes landing and taking off, so you have to dodge more of them. For Dolphin Shoals, I want the water drained again, maybe something along those lines where you have to just kind of jump off the pipes that are over the gap now with the air just busting through them, or maybe the Wonder event will actually add dolphins that when you drive near them you actually get a boost, like you can hang onto the side of them or something as they like swim all over the track. For Electrodrome, the DJ plays a new song that has your cart pop up in the air after every beat. Imagine your cart dancing to the beat of a song, very much like Music Park where the giant music note makes you bounce. This is kind of similar also to the Ninja Jump House from Super Mario Bros. Wonder, where you'll always jump and bounce on beat. For Mount Wario, all the snow melts for a while, and I don't know how much this would change. Maybe there's some more bumps or something in the snow that actually was hiding under there the whole time as it melts, like more items or something to pick up, or maybe at the very end a giant avalanche will fall down. I don't know how they would work this with, players that are already in the back and stuff and when the avalanche would start, but yeah, I just threw that in there. For the Leaf Cup, we have Wario Stadium that switches to nighttime with more flames and lights all over the track, and maybe more of those camera flashes as you're doing tricks that could kind of blind you in certain situations. For Sherbert Land, maybe a blizzard hits the track, making it hard to see and covered in snow, and maybe more chilies on the track as well that you can run into and freeze your cart. Also, maybe now there's more Shy Guys ice skating all over the track, and you have to dodge all of them. For Music Park, I thought of maybe the same thing that we did for Electrodrome, where the music changes and you'll bounce more often all over the track. Or something very interesting is maybe the enemies like the piranha plants that are dancing on the track, and maybe some Goombas will come onto the track and start marching and dancing, very obviously like Mario Wonder, where they'll do like a march across the stage and start dancing or something, and you have to dodge them on the track. And for Yoshi Valley, the last lap will make even more paths, and you'll have over like 20 different paths that you can choose that do different things and take you to different locations, and it's just all random. You could get more items on one path, you could get really good items, you could get bad items, it could be longer, it could be shorter. It would just kind of increase the paths that Yoshi's Valley already has, which is tons of them. Next up, we have the Special Cup with Cloud Top Cruise. A giant thunderstorm appears, and it's not just when you're inside the cloud area at the end. There's thunder and lightning that can strike the track, and even heavy winds that could even blow you off the track, and maybe one giant tornado at the very end when you're doing the glider section. For Bone Dry Dunes, I said a giant sandstorm would probably be pretty cool, blanketing the area, or maybe the pirate ships that are friendly actually now turn into mean pirate ships that shoot cannonballs at you instead of coins. And the dry Bowser at the end could come alive and breathe blue fire towards you, and you have to dodge the fire as you're flying into the cave. For Bowser's Castle, I said the giant Bowser statue comes alive and does more than just punch the track. It can throw spike balls and even breathe fire and fireballs as well. Mario Kart 8's Rainbow Road can now have meteorites or a meteor shower that's hitting the station as giant space rock come and smash different parts of the track, and you have to watch out and dodge them and follow the shadows on the ground to see where they're going to land. Moving on to the Lightning Cup, we have Tick-Tock Clock, where maybe the time speeds up and slows down in different intervals, very similar to Mario 64, which the moving pendulums and the gears will throw you off. Piranha Plant Slide could have a super dark tunnel underground with piranha creepers now along the walls from Mario 3D World that kind of grow and try to cover parts of the track. Grumble Volcano, the entire place is frozen over and now turns into ice and snow. And Nintendo 64's Rainbow Road can now have the train become part of the track. At the very end, the track will lead into the top of the train, which then you'll drive from the back of the train all the way to the front, as the train will just sit there floating stationary in the sky. You have to move your way all the way to the front and ride the train, and maybe coins coins will shoot out of the top or something. I don't know, something along those lines. But yeah, I think that would be pretty cool. Moving on to the A Cup, we have Yoshi's Circuit, where a Yoshi Stampede could rush all over the track, kind of similar to Yoshi's Final Smash and Smash Ultimate. Excite Bike Arena could have Excite Bikers drive by and do tricks and you can't bump into them, you gotta watch out. Or maybe it turns all the players into Excite Bikers, which would be a really cool retro throwback thing. For Dragon Driftway, what if the Gobblegut statue that you're driving through actually comes alive and it moves around and twists its body and bounces its body up every now and then, twisting and moving the track like you're actually inside of his mouth and in his belly. For Mute City, I mean, come on, there's only one real thing that would make sense, it's just super speed enabled. I'm talking over 200cc, making it just go extremely fast, or maybe it turns you into an old school Blue Falcon or something along those lines, or an old school car from F-Zero. Or something else they could do is just literally turn all the entire track into boost pads. Like literally there's nothing but boost pads that you're driving on. Or maybe take the rails away, so this time there's a real threat as you're driving this fast, there will be no rails anywhere to protect you. Let's hop on over to the Triforce Cup where we have Wario's Gold Mine. The entire underground is now covered in gold. We found the gold and all things are just shining and glittering inside the cave, and there will be mine carts full of gold going throughout the track, and they'll dump some gold onto the track, which is just literally some gold coins for you to pick up. They'll also dump occasional items for you to grab as well by emptying them into the track, so something along those lines. For SNES Rainbow Road, at the very end where there's two rainbow thwomps, this time there'll be one giant one that hits the track really hard and shakes the entire track, wobbling every part, making it very hard to drive on. For Ice Outpost, it adds two more paths onto the last lap that all intertwine in weird ways, giving a blue and a red extra path, making 4 in total. For Hyrule Circuit, Ganon will appear at the last lap, and he stands there at the end. You have to drive under his legs and dodge his tail and his giant swords based off of his Ocarina of Time design. I would also like to see Bokoblins, Moblins, and Stalfos all walking all over the map during this final lap. And maybe Hyrule Castle is now turned into Ganon's Castle, once again referencing Ocarina of Time. Moving on to the Crossing Cup, Baby Park is all about chaos, so what if everyone is granted 2 completely random items when you get the Wonder Flower? Yes, just completely random, meaning even first place could get something extremely overpowered. It would just completely mix everything up and make it extremely unfair, but that's what Baby Park is about. Something else that would be hilarious too is if they shrunk the track and made it even smaller, so like you're literally hitting right turns as quickly as possible, like there's hardly no straightaway. That'd be pretty funny, but yeah. Or maybe even making it bigger, I don't know, maybe increasing or decreasing the size of the track. For Cheeseland, the mice run all over the track now. Little tiny mice that will run out of the cheese and run across the track and pick up pieces of cheese. You have to watch out for them. For Wild Woods, these Shy Guys now turn into Sniffets inside the tree, and they swing by trying to attack you on vines or shoot little bullets at you out of their snouts, or maybe the tree itself catches on fire, and now there's new things to dodge inside the tree as things are burning and fire is spreading and things are falling all off the tree. That would be pretty cool. And for the Animal Crossing track, this one would be pretty easy. It would just switch the theme/season in the middle of the race. So as soon as you get this, it will pick a random season and it will change the appearance of the track. And we move on to the Bell Cup. For the last of the original tracks in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, we have Neo Bowser City, where maybe there's a power outage and all the neon lights are turned off so it's a lot darker. Or maybe a cold front comes into the city and turns all the water on the road from the rain into ice and snow, making it even harder to drive on. Now we go on to Ribbon Road, and the Ribbon Road actually rips into multiple different lanes now that you have to drive on and not fall off of. But also, what if a dog ran into the room randomly and started knocking all the toys off the track or something, or all the toys came to life like a Toy Story thing and started walking all over the track instead of just the Mecha Koopas? There's just a ton of toys walking all around the place. That'd be pretty cool. For Super Bell Subway, what if the trains actually derail? But when you go down into the subway, those trains just kind of flipped over and just laying on their side, just down into the subway tunnels itself, and you have to watch out for those. And then for Big Blue, kind of the same thing as Mute City, just super speed enabled over 200cc, and maybe turning into the old school Blue Falcon, or just covering the track in speed boost, or getting rid of the rails. So if you guys are enjoying the video so far, stop what you're doing, leave a like and subscribe. We are halfway through, but let's dive into the DLC. So first off, we have the Golden Dash Cup with Paris Promenade. Now this is where it gets kind of difficult because lots of these city tour tracks are hard to implement a wonder effect effect because they're just based off of the actual city in the real world. So maybe the last lap of Paris Promenade, the Eiffel Tower, you know, is able to come alive and it bends and moves or something. I don't know how that would affect the gameplay, but maybe you can drive up the Eiffel Tower in zero gravity, something along those lines. For Toad Circuit, the Wonder Flower would improve the textures. Okay, no, seriously. The Toad balloons would actually come to life and drop down into the ground and walk around the track or stomp around the track. Choco Mountain could have more falling boulders or giant ones that roll around the track, or maybe ones that move like the boulders from Mario 3D World that just roll around the track and try to hit you. Coconut Mall could have giant sliding doors all over the track that open and close at random intervals that you have to make it into before they shut in your face. So it's kind of like a timing thing where you might have to pump the brakes to make sure you can get into the sliding doors before they shut. But once you bump a door, you'll get stuck for a second and that door will disappear, so that way it doesn't just like trap you in the middle of the door or something and other players are continuously getting hit by the door. The door will just no longer exist after you already bumped into it. For the Fruit Cup, we have Amsterdam Drift. Maybe all of the tulips at the end turn into piranha plants. It's just like a field of piranha plants that all try to bite you if you get anywhere near the sides of the path, or maybe it takes you onto a path that goes through the tulips and you get to like drive through them. Yeah, you'll mess them up, but you know, it'll look cool. Riverside Park is a kind of tough one. One thing I could think of is maybe some ukikis, which are the monkeys from Yoshi's Island, are up in the trees and they can actually throw things down like banana peels and stuff to make you slip, or maybe throw down some occasional good items when you go through the jungle area. For DK Summit, more thick snow all over the track. Maybe it's, you know, you have to dodge the snow and get out of the way, or maybe the snowboarding Shy Guys are now going down the hill at the beginning and the entire track instead of just the half pipe at the end. And for Yoshi's Island, I thought maybe the chain chomps could come from the background and bounce on the stage like they do in the actual level in Yoshi's Island. You'll see a giant shadow on the ground when you have to move out of that spot, but watch out for the shadows, or maybe even Kamek could fly around shooting beams and transforming things into nearby items, or just different things that you can pick up like coins, or maybe even turning objects into enemies that walk around the track. Moving on to the Lucky Cat Cup, we have Tokyo Blur, and let's face it, it's not really a blur. In fact, it feels like a very slow, boring drive. But what if we had boost pad spawn all over the track? Now it's a blur. Shroom Ridge is super heavy traffic now. Rain now hits the road, making it super slippery as well. Could be a really good thing, but I like the heavy traffic because there's lots of driving on the side of cliffs. It would make it very difficult. For Sky Garden, we could have giant vines burst out from underneath the track that you have to dodge out for as they break pieces of the track apart and leave giant potholes in the track as well. Or maybe Lakitus could fly around the map, you know, dropping Spinies all over the track that eventually just walk by back and forth and you have to dodge them. For Ninja Hideaway, we have the Ninja Shy Guys already part of the track, but what if now the Wonder event causes tons of them to spawn, where they're throwing ninja stars at each other and they're disappearing and reappearing all over the track and running in and out of the castle? That would be really cool. Bangkok Rush was one of the few that gave me a very difficult time trying to figure out what could happen, and the only thing I could think of is maybe just crowded areas, tons of Shy Guys and Toad NPC characters just filling the streets and purchasing things at the shops nearby, and you just have to watch out for them or you'll bump into them. You have to keep dodging them or something like that. Or maybe like nighttime hits and all the street vendors come to life and there's tons of more tents and stuff in the middle of the road that you have to watch out for. So yeah, it's a hard one. I had to throw in whatever. Next up, we have Mario Circuit from the DS, where the trees maybe come alive and walk around within the forest section. This is something also kind of referencing Super Mario Wonder that happened there, but the trees just kind of jump around and walk around would be pretty cool. Waluigi Stadium could have giant metal piranha plants now turn into real giant ones that try to breathe fire at you and also try to bite you when you drive by, making it more difficult to get around them. And for Singapore Speedway, another one that's kind of hard to do. Maybe in the glider sections, there's tons of fireworks that might blow you out of the sky or hit you, and they're just kind of covering the sky when you glide. Next up, we have the Turnip Cup, where we'll go to New York Minute, where maybe Times Square area is actually filled with people cheering and tons of cars now, and it's hard to get through. Or maybe you get warped to New Dong City from Super Mario Odyssey, which would be amazing, but probably never likely. Mario Circuit 3 now has colored blocks falling from the sky because this track is so bland, there's really nothing else to pull from, so maybe colored blocks now fill the track, and you have to watch out for falling blocks now. For Calamari Desert, what if the trains got turned into bullet trains, where now they're a lot faster and there's a lot more, and they're zooming through the tunnel and off the track, so you have to be careful and maybe even stop in certain situations until it goes by. For Waluigi Pinball, you get turned turned into a small pinball and roll your way around the track, and the controls are slightly different and the physics don't necessarily feel like a car. Instead, you're just bouncing off of each other and rolling through the track until you transform into a character in Kart again. And for the Feather Cup for Athens Dash, time reverts itself back in time, in fact, where everything is actually fully built and you have full structures that you can drive into and drive off of, which changes the track a little bit. Daisy Cruiser gets invaded by a giant gooper blooper, and it shoots ink all over the boat and shakes it with its tentacles, and tentacles are kind of moving all over the boat and kind of slamming up and down. You have to dodge, and also maybe there's just like a giant storm at sea because of this. For Moonview Highway, every car is now a bomb car, so you would have to be extremely careful, or maybe your cart has continuous boost like a mushroom's going off the entire time, making it very hard to control and drive and watch out for the cars. You can't even brake, you're going so fast. And then for Squeaky Clean Sprint, maybe a dog, once again, like we did with Ribbon Road, runs into the room and knocks tons of products all over the track floor, and you just see tons of like shampoo bottles and soap and mops and stuff hit the floor. That changes the track up a little bit and makes you have to dodge some things. Yes, I'm pulling the dog thing from the Mario Brothers movie. It's just something that I wanted to throw in. So also, when you go into the underground shelf section, you can see things just bounce off the shelves and just bounce onto the track. All right, let's move on to the Propeller Cup. We are 3/4 of the way done. Let's continue. Sydney Sprint. This one I also was very confused with. I really don't know what to add. You could add crowds of people that pop up and crowd the streets, or maybe something in the amusement park area like the Ferris wheels placed on the track and you have to go through it without hitting one of the carts. And then obviously you could have like maybe the train section where the trains kind of intertwine and cross over the road in this weird section. I don't know. I'm just trying to come up with something because this track doesn't really have anything to work with. Snowland could have penguins sliding everywhere, tons of them in like lines and stuff, so you have to watch out for them. Mushroom Gorge, even more bouncy mushrooms, and maybe different sizes in the cave. Like there's a ton of different sizes, little ones, big ones, ones that bounce you in certain ways. Maybe enemies such as Goombas appear and they're like bouncing up and down on the mushrooms as obstacles you have to watch out for. And then Sky High Sunday, maybe hot fudge is poured all over the track, and if you get into it, it will slow your cart down, so you have to watch out for the fudge everywhere. Or maybe alternating hot and cold air coming in, where the cold air will freeze everything, giving it an ice traction, or it will melt everything, giving things a slippery traction, which is ideally the same thing, so I guess it doesn't really matter. Moving on to the Cherry Cup, we have Los Angeles Laps, where apparently there's oil struck now, and there's oil geysers coming out of the oil section, and maybe it starts shooting, oil puddles all over the floor you have to watch out for, or maybe covering your screen with the ink, kind of like the squid does. For Sunset Wilds, the sun actually sets now, but then a Shy Guy hoedown starts, and tons of Shy Guys actually start dancing all over the track, and a lot more than there already are right now. They're like having their own little party. Koopa Cape, the river stream becomes poisonous, and it's now purple, meaning that if you drive in it, you'll drive a lot slower, so you have to actually dodge the river this time around instead of using it. And then Vancouver Velocity, there could be a snowstorm, making it very hard to see outside, or maybe some ice skating Shy Guys or hockey player Shy Guys kind of going throughout the streets or something along those lines. Like the entire track turns into an ice rink as it's covered in ice, and the Shy Guys are skating nearby. The Rock Cup, once again, it's a city track that's hard to come up with something for, but there are chain chomps on this track, so maybe there's more of them and bigger ones that are bouncing throughout the entirety of the track once the Wonder Flower is picked up. For Boo Lake, boos will cover the map, appearing at random spots and disappearing, and if you bump into them, you'll get wiped out, or maybe everyone disappears on the track. I don't really know how much that would do, but yeah, that could happen. Maybe completely disappears, but you can't even see your shadow on the ground. It's very hard to tell where you are. For Rock Mountain, the pipes are alive, like in Super Mario Bros. Wonder, where they're moving up and down and crawling across the ground that you have to dodge, especially when you're in the air. They could be moving up and down to hit you. Maple Treeway, random items will fall from the trees the same way they pop out of bushes or leaves when you go through them. And maybe the Wigglers are now angry and they're rushing through the area, running around the track. Rome Avanti is another difficult one. Maybe it's again going back in time, making kind of like the Coliseum more, back the way it used to look and stuff, and kind of just warping time. Or you could have more rocky wrenches, maybe just throwing wrenches all over the map. This one, yeah, the tour tracks are hard. For DK Mountain, the volcano will fully erupt and the sky will become gray and red like it is in Grumble Volcano. It'll shoot more boulders and falling debris down at you. Daisy Circuit, statues are actually dancing now. The statues that you see in the middle of the track, they'll actually come to life and start dancing around a little circle square area, which would be really cool. Or maybe you can drive up and around the lighthouse or something different this time. I don't know. But for Piranha Plant Cove, tons of eels are all over the water swimming now. They'll try to eat you as you're swimming by, or lots of them them will be sticking their heads out of the rocks and nearby structures. Maybe the statues of the PD piranha heads will come to life and try to bite you, or they just chuck every style of piranha plant at you on this track, like all the ones that are in the game currently. For the Moon Cup, we have Berlin byways, so maybe there's just tons of more traffic, but also womps and thwomps everywhere. That could be really cool since it's like one of the few tracks that actually features those enemies. Peach Gardens, the hedges come to life and move around the garden, and you have to actually dodge them or you'll just kind of get bumped. For Merry Mountain, Santa flies overhead and drops items all over the track. That would be really cool. They could be, look, tons of mushrooms or stars or maybe bullet items, different items that you can pick up. Or maybe the toads are throwing snowballs across the road and having a snowball fight and you have to dodge them, or you'll get hit and it'll like bump your car a little bit. And then Rainbow Road from Mario Kart 7, shooting stars will fly in and giving you the star power if you get one. You'll have to line up your cart in order to run into it as it's falling from the sky, or watch the shadows on the ground in order to pick one up. Maybe a meteor shower zooms in. It's not just the end of the track anymore. There's meteorites and rocks just kind of floating all over the track that you have to dodge out for that might bump into you and knock you off the road. And finally, we have the Spiny Cup with Madrid Drive. What if all the art and paintings actually came to life? That includes any statues, anything art related actually gets up and starts walking, or things jump out of the paintings and stuff. That would be pretty cool. Or maybe you can jump through a painting like Mario 64 and go to a whole different part of the track for the final lap. Rosalina's Ice World would have Lumas appear on the track, and they can give you a launch star boost if you bump into them in order to knock you forward. For Bowser's Castle 3, what if the bullet bill cannons actually pop up and start firing bullet bills at you from across the track, or shooting bob-ombs onto the track that walk around and are about to detonate? That would be pretty cool for sure. And finally, that gives us Rainbow Road on the Wii. What do we pick for this one? Well, it could be the same as some past Rainbow Roads, maybe a meteor shower or shooting stars along those lines. Or maybe there's just nothing but boost pads all over the entire track, making you zoom the entire time, making it pretty difficult. Or maybe star bits kind of get close to you, and if you bump into them, like you'll get knocked out the way or something, and you have to dodge the star bits or something along those lines. But I think any of those would work out pretty well. And that is all 96 Mario Kart 8 Deluxe tracks with the Wonder Flower event happening in each of them. So yeah, this took a long time to make, so of course, like always, make sure you let me know that you enjoyed this video by leaving a like and subscribing. We're trying to get a goal of over 200 unique subscribers. You guys have blown that out of the water before, so let's see what we can do today. But thank you so much for tuning in. If you guys have your own Wonder events that you would like to add for a specific level, let me know in the comments down below. I would love to see your guys' opinions, and I will see you all on the next one. See you guys.